Good evening. We'll start our meeting of November 4th, 7 p.m. with the Board of Selectmen with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, our first order of business is the October 21st meeting minutes. Any suggested changes or corrections? If not,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'll abstain as I was not present that meeting.
Thank you. 3 approvals and 1 abstention. First item after the minutes is the appointments of Clarissa Johnson to the Conservation Commission.
Clarissa, do you want to join us? So Clarissa, in the past, was an associate member of the Conservation Commission, and she's interested in being a full member. Obviously, it's up to the board tonight, but we do have 2 vacancies, and we have had interest in 2 other people have put their names in. So what I'd recommend tonight, and Clarissa, you can say if you feel differently, but we could appoint Clarissa tonight as an associate member, and then just talk with the other 2 that are interested, and then determine if they really are legitimately interested, and then come back and appoint you as a full member at that time if the board feels like that's appropriate. But
So Doug, from a timing standpoint, did Clarissa, was she the first to ask to fill full-time?
Yeah. So that is also
Yeah.
to her credit.
Chris, you just want to give us a little background of yourself, if you would? I know we know you've been an associate member, maybe about how long, and maybe a little bit about yourself, if you could.
I first became an associate member in October, I believe, 2017, and I was on the board for a while. But then I got voted off because I had gone out of town into Maine, and I was up in Maine studying how to be a CNA. But now I'm back in town after completing that program, and I'm working at Lanessa as a CNA now. So, and I'll be here for a while because I'm going to Quincy in January for environmental science.
Great.
And I talked with the conservation agent and the board, and they're supportive. They just, like you said, you stopped attending meetings because you were out of state, so they just want to make sure that you're committed and willing to attend the meetings. So,
I mean, I like the fact that you've been on the board as an associate member. So, any questions or?
So you're looking to appoint her as a full-time member?
it's up to the board. We have had other people express interest, but they haven't. We've only had one other that's formally submitted a letter, and that was just recently. So,
And there's 2 positions.
there's 2 vacancies. Yeah.
But
What?
she did submit her application.
Before anyone else. Yep.
I make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second that.
And just to
As a
clarify, as a full-time
full
member,
member.
if we could amend that.
Yes.
Yep. Any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a unanimous vote. Clarissa,
Thank
thank you. You're a
Clarissa.
full-time member.
Welcome.
Swearing in, I guess?
Yeah. So Mary will email you, but you'll need to be sworn in at the clerk's office.
Okay.
So we'll and she obviously has all your contact information. So just have to come in during business hours.
All right.
Great.
So best of luck to you in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck. Thanks for coming on board.
Thanks for volunteering.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Curtis Cleaves here, looking to be appointed to the Webster Historical Commission. Welcome, Curtis.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
We'll maybe give I know you from work. Maybe you can just give us a little background.
Yeah, I'm a resident of Webster for about 45 years. Live on School Street, had a photography business there. Treasurer of the Webster Dudley Historical Society. And that's about it, just a local town person with interest in preservation, historical things.
Yeah. So there's lots of vacancies on the historical commission, and so actually
Next item on our agenda, under new business, is the Polish American Citizens Club, 37 Harris Street, change of officers, directors, and a change of manager application. Courtney, you sent out a good deal of information here for us. Do we have everything that we need in our package that, in order to approve this, and then we can get into any discussion?
Yes, and we also got the addition of
The state's,
The updated.
certificate of
yeah,
good standing.
certificate of good standing.
And I guess I missed the last portion of the meeting, and the discussion was, can this person not live in the state? And the answer is, they can live out of the state as long as they're able to respond and respond to an emergency at the place.
And I think the particular individual here lives in Thompson,
Yeah,
so it's not like might be out of state, but it's
Grosvenor
contiguous.
Dale, I thought.
Oh, Grosvenor.
Grosvenor Dale.
Does the board have any questions on the application? Seems to be everything in order, so I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the change of officers, directors, and change of manager application for the Polish American Citizens Club.
Second.
Any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a unanimous vote. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Just Wing It, Inc., the downtown liquor license request. Doug, do we have anyone here tonight?
We do not, so we did reach out to them, and there was a discussion, and they have applied for the all alcohol license, and I had a frank discussion that, I don't necessarily think that that restaurant is suited for an alcohol license, and so certainly there's a beer and wine available, and that seems more suited. They said they would prefer the all alcohol, but they would be happy to settle for beer and wine as well. If the board wants to table this until we can have them here to discuss,
And
that's
that,
also an
that
option.
would be one of the Main Street
Would be,
licenses.
On South Main Street.
Yeah, 'cause it's the Slum of Blight area, which
Right.
goes basically up to the interchange.
So I guess for discussion purposes, they're closed, aren't they?
They will be reopening in, they said November.
Okay.
And this is down here by Mechanics, or is it
No,
up
it's
here?
the one right up here.
To the left of my building,
Yeah, across the street from Mama's Kitchen.
the old Northeast Pizza.
Oh, okay, okay.
I would make a recommendation that they come in,
Yeah.
just so that we can get some sort of an idea.
Of what they really need.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And not that, I mean, all alcohol licenses have a financial value to them,
Mhm.
so that might be why they were interested in, not necessarily what they're planning on doing.
Well, and I think too, given the fact that there was, I think, capacity for 20 people,
Yeah,
as listed in their application here, perhaps a beer and wine license seemed to make more sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of the restaurants on Main Street have all alcohol, if any.
Yeah,
or are
so
they beer and wine?
I believe that would have been the fit,
That have the
all
special
alcohol,
five.
of the special five,
We gave Corrections Brewery that one.
yeah. When we approved the one that, for the nightclub that
yeah.
is
It
not
has
going to
now-
go there.
They have changed the location outside of the, so they
Slum
have,
Blight.
they,
They'll have to reapply.
yeah, they,
Well,
So we weren't,
the one that they're buying is, already
Outside
has
of the
one.
down,
Right.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
well, we can certainly take that up at another
Yeah,
meeting.
so we'll make sure that they can come in a future meeting.
So
Yes, so
basically,
Mr.
we
Bork
would
has
have one.
suggested that.
Yeah.
it's only one.
Is the board okay with that? to ask them
And the
to
only
attend?
thing is, that you said November, we won't be meeting again until December.
We are scheduled to meet November 18th.
18.
Oh, that's right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if we're meeting on the 18th and they plan on opening, I guess if we find out if they're going to be opening up prior to the 18th, we could maybe, if the chair declares, have a meeting for, even if it's a beer and wine, prior to that, just
Yeah.
on that one thing.
We could approve a beer and wine tonight.
We don't
Oh,
have-
because they didn't apply for
They
that?
have
They
to-
don't have, we don't have a beer and wine available. The
Oh.
five that are downtown are
All
all
have to be a-
alcohol licenses.
Oh, okay.
But could they be a BYOB?
I did mention that to them.
Yeah.
Wouldn't,
Go ahead, Andrew. sorry.
even though they're in the Slum and Blight District, wouldn't they qualify for a beer and wine since there's no cap on the beer and wine licenses?
There is a cap out there. We have 5 beer and wine licenses in town, and those were all taken. For the 5 that was approved for the downtown Slum and Blight area, were
Are all-
5 full alcohol licenses.
So
Okay.
it would need to be,
Okay, because I thought that the cap on liquor licenses was only for all alcohol year-round.
No,
So
we
there's a
have
separate
caps.
cap?
Every
Every
single
category has a
has
cap? Okay. I
But
was-
there's no cap on BYOB.
Correct. That's set by the Board of Selectmen, local licensing authority.
But they've already said they're not really interested in the BYOB, or,
right, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I think
mean,
Mr. Bork is suggesting we bring them in. Before granting, considering an all alcohol license, I personally would like
Right.
to
Like to discuss it.
meet with them as well, if that's
Yeah.
okay with the rest of the board.
We'll make sure that they can be available. We didn't hear back from them.
Yeah, whether it's the
Tonight.
November 18th meeting or the December 16th,
Yep.
as a stopgap, if they, what about a BYOB? Is that something that we would have to approve as well?
It is, right?
That's
the
just
board
a
has-
local
if-
licensing.
And if they'd like to do that, then I would agree with Mr. Bork that
We could call
maybe we can get
special.
together if we had to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best bet. What I don't wanna do is if they're going to open in November, and open in mid-November, and we're not meeting until the 18th, if we have to just have that, a quick meeting just to approve a BYOB, then I would entertain that.
Yep.
Okay,
We'll clarify
So
with
we
them.
will table that for a future meeting, and Courtney and Doug, you can identify when they'll be coming. Next item on the agenda is memorandum of understanding with the Department of Education.
So if you recall at town meeting approved the Board of Selectmen to enter into this MOU with the State Department of Education. This will allow us to receive the reimbursement for the busing of foster students. This is their standard contract. They don't want it changed, so we did fill in the blanks. But are there any questions?
The only question I had was it kept talking about the local education agencies, so is this something that also has to be approved by the school committee?
No, because the town meeting approved the Board of Selectmen to approve it.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on this? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is a unanimous vote. And we'll be able to, this is what we need to sign, or is it?
Oh,
this
it's in
package?
the packet. This is for the next item.
And next item is to designate Matthew Ferrera as a special municipal employee. And I know Doug and I have talked a little bit about this, so
Yeah, so Matthew Ferreira is a full-time employee in the water department, but he is also now passed the physical and all the necessary exams to be a on-call part-time firefighter. There's ethics laws that say you can't be work for the town in 2 different jobs unless one of them is declared a special municipal employee position. So we'd like to declare a on-call part-time firefighter as a special municipal employee. We actually have done this in the past, but it wasn't formally filed with the town clerk. So this will make that position a special municipal employee for all.
Now, how does that work with overtime and such, being a full-time in the water?
Yeah, so that's why you have the 2 classifications. So he will receive the on-call rate for when he responds as a firefighter.
Okay. So this will create no overtime, like vice versa, in either department?
Right, either way. And we have currently a custodian at the police station is doing something it's similar, yeah. So he's full-time there, but working part-time as an on-call firefighter.
So our vote here tonight would be to actually designate the position as opposed to the individual.
Yes.
So my question is that, and I don't know if it still works, but when I was on the fire department, if there was a structure fire during the day, there was a box alarm, the employer could not say no to the employee working to go out to fight that fire. How would that work in this case?
Yeah, so, worst case scenario, yes, we could let them respond. We'd rather have them respond to an emergency and put that out, but, we've talked with both superintendents and also the police chief, and they're comfortable with that if need be.
You mean the fire chief?
Well, yeah, and the police chief that has an employee that would respond.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
I'll move that we designate the position of part-time on-call firefighter as a special municipal employee.
Second.
And I might just add, I was just looking if, it's on page 48, I was just looking now, if we might just add to that, just the language and say, and vote to exempt the position from section 20. I'm not sure if we specifically have to say that, but,
It doesn't hurt though, so
yeah,
yeah.
just,
might
just
as
to
well.
be safe, if you wouldn't mind me amending it with that.
So moved.
Any
No,
other questions?
I'll amend my second.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a unanimous vote. And next item on the agenda is the year-to-date budget report, which we have 20 or so pages in our
Yes, so it is kind of a
PDF that we have to turn our computers around.
So we can certainly go through it in whatever detail you'd like. My concerns, actually, there's very few. I feel like we're in a good position to date with the budget. The building and ground maintenance in the town administrator's office is overexpended. Those expenses should actually should be coming from the public buildings, buildings and ground maintenance line. So that'll just need a journal entry to move that.
So that's on page 2.
That is on page 2.
You know, Doug, if you don't mind, why don't we go page by page if people have questions? I know that I had some questions on page 1, if you don't mind.
Sure, yep,
My questions on page 1 were the sick leave and the, it's hard to see, vacation leave. Those have been pretty much all expended.
yeah, so the sick leave and vacation incentive, those are paid out in July for the prior year's incentive. So, actually, those almost $8,000 is available for other purposes.
Right, that's basically left over from those
Yep.
events. Okay, thank you. Page 2. You were talking about the overages and the negative amounts and the available budget line for the building and grounds.
Yeah. So this, that'll be transferred to the public building and grounds line, so there will no longer be a negative amount there.
And the professional services, was that just a coding error?
Yeah, we'll move that down to the other line. Let's see. Let me double check to see what that is.
Because that was showing the negative 4,300.
Yeah.
Any other questions on page 2?
No.
Any questions on page 3? I know, Doug, when I had gone through this, it's a 4-month budget, so, kind of, looking at
Yeah.
1/3.
right.
So if the
Times
budget's,
everything by 3.
right, if the budget's 33% used, you feel pretty comfortable. That's kind of how I was looking at it.
Yep.
Page 4. I know there was some expenditure recovery there in the treasurer expenses.
Yeah, so the expenditure refund, that's a negative amount. That's actually money that's come in that just needs to be coded into the department. So as we hold it to keep it so we can balance the budget, that's where it's deposited for the short term.
And your negative encumbrances line, is that money to be funded into these?
It is, so it reads weird here, so, the professional services, the encumbrance hasn't actually rolled forward because we haven't closed the prior year, so that's why.
Any other questions on page 4?
On the legal services, how far behind are they in invoicing?
So have we paid October? Do you recall? We probably haven't paid October because we just received it. So we're through September.
Yeah.
Through September?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 3 months. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Right now, yeah, that's running well.
Yeah. I know we want to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so we have a couple of
Yeah.
suits that we will have to pay the deductible for.
Yeah.
Page 5? I know here, it looked like, on the data processing, looked like amounts were pre-funded at the
Yeah,
beginning of the
the-
year, so that's
yeah.
why it's running at 90%.
It is, so that's, like our Munis software, all comes from there, and that's like $80,000. So, yeah, I don't have any concerns with the data processing budget.
Any other questions on page 5?
No.
Page 6?
Could you talk a little bit about the code enforcement expenses being at 46%?
At the very bottom.
Yeah, so
Looks like the CMPRC is a one-time payment.
it is, so that's, yes. Sorry, code enforcement threw me off. That's actually, it has a weird name, that's the planning department for some reason. But yes, the CMRPC is a $4,800 bill, and so that's half of their budget that they've already paid out.
And travel and conferences, is that pretty much season, I mean,
Yeah, so they,
it's a little high now, but
yeah, there's one more that they'll be going in the spring, but that's about it.
Page 7. Electricity looks funny. I don't know if we're just behind in payments, so I'm in the middle. Public
Yeah.
building expenses, electricity is only at 13%.
Yeah,
And I knew we had this issue we had to have town meeting take care of. Just wanna make sure that we don't fall behind, that's all.
yeah, so we are running well on electricity. I mean, electricity does bump up in the winter, but we are keeping an eye on it, and hopefully it stays that way.
Any other questions on 7? Page 8? Again, there, the kind of 1/3 is what you're looking for, so they all, in total, look fairly good.
Yeah,
Page 9. The mobile surveillance camera was not something that was budgeted for, at least listed here.
yeah, so what the mobile surveillance camera was budgeted, was approved at a town meeting, so there's that $35,000 encumbrance, so there will be zero
Okay.
available budget.
And that is the tower unit.
Yeah, that they've been,
Any other questions on 9? Page 10. A couple of these jump out, the fire capital outlay.
yeah. That one's just the encumbrance, so again, we approved this is for the fire truck.
Town meeting.
Yeah, that was approved at town meeting, and, I'm not sure why it got paid out of there, but we need to just clear that one up.
Alright, so okay, that's one for Tim to check.
Yeah.
And then the nuisance property at the bottom,
Hmm.
didn't seem like we spent anything, or it's just not coded to that?
Nope, we haven't spent anything. Next, meeting will be approving a big expenditure for that.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that, we're still keeping up.
Yep.
On nuisance properties.
So, yeah, nuisance, that line is to basically, we'll discuss next meeting, but to demo, nuisance properties that have a demo order that, the property owner is unwilling or unable to pay for, then we'll tear it down and lien the property, and then eventually we'll get the money back.
Would this also be used, Doug, if, there was property that had 2-foot-high grass and?
Yeah, we could pay a contractor to go out, cut it, and then lien that for whatever,
Okay.
couple $100, yes.
Any other questions on 10? Page 11? Not really a lot on there.
The other ones that I'm a little bit concerned about is the harbor master. I mean, it's not a big budget, but they have spent 60%, and we will have all of June that they'll need to be on the lakes. It'll be close, but there might need a little money there.
Anything else? Page 12? There's just some, at the top there, the school transportation, again, nothing was expended, but
Yeah,
and the school spend seems off. I don't know if that's just timing.
I think what they're, yes, because, they probably haven't even paid the September bill yet, was what I'm assuming. But that, the school department pays that, I'll have to double check with them.
Page 13, any questions? It looks like we're doing well with the public works expenses. I just don't know there again if that's a timing issue or.
Yeah, so in public works, well, we actually, in the past, we had snow and ice built into the public works budget. We now moved it out. But yeah, it is running well. A lot of that gasoline line will be eaten up over the winter, and especially with a lot of plowing.
And again there, sorry to jump back to 12, that electricity account at the bottom of 12 is only running at 4%.
Yep, so that one actually,
That doesn't seem possible.
yeah. So that's the street light and the signals account. So last year, I don't know if you recall, but we actually had to approve extra money to pay for the street lights because they were so far behind in giving us the credits for switching over to the LED.
Right.
So we are living off of those credits now.
Oh, okay.
So those are coming in to offset the expense. Any questions on page 13?
What falls into the other charges and expenses?
For which budget?
On the DPW, on the highway?
The
the highway.
3,500?
Yeah,
I'd have to look that up, I'm not sure.
that's 49%.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like.
It's a relatively small-
I know it's a
$3,500,
catch-all,
$3,500.
yeah. I can look that up, though.
Anything on 14? Page 15? Again there, Doug, the bottom electricity is kinda keeps creeping up in these numbers.
Yep, so again,
Zero expended.
this one's a little different in that we had net metering credits, a credit with the utility there. That one, though, should not be zero.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
zero. Right, so you look into that one.
Yeah.
And that bottom line there, that data processing is, I'm sure, just, that's paid one amount early in the year.
Yep, that is actually the CW Mars,
Our system.
yeah, the subscription for it.
Page 16?
The-
Yeah, the top numbers.
Yeah, so those are library materials, and we typically spend the bulk of it at the beginning of the fiscal year for new books.
Moving on to page 17, you'll just have to explain those to us, because
Yeah, so the
it could
retirement.
just be timing.
Yeah, the bulk of our debt and interest is paid in June, so we can hold on to the money as long as possible. There are some payments in, if I recall correctly, in
Mid-year.
January,
Mid-year.
and then the bulk of them won't come in June.
So once we see the month end January, we'll see
We'll
some
see
of these
some expenditures.
paid.
Yeah.
So it's timing. And page 18?
So
You know,
the
here's
health,
just the question on the very top is how do we true it up?
yeah, so that's the state aid. So this is a little bit weird because the state assessments, we are technically not appropriated, and so that's why there's not showing the budget being there. But those are exactly 25%, or sorry, yeah, it was 25% because we hadn't paid October yet. But those are right on what the cherry sheet was.
So these will always show a negative.
Those ones always will. The one that I was a little bit concerned about was the health insurance, because it shows it's slightly over, and when that's a really big number, so even slightly over there is bad news. But Courtney did a great job. She audited what we were billed versus what we should be paid. And so there's a true up, and for 1 month it was $14,000. So times that by 12, we'll actually have spare money in that budget.
Yeah, I mean, it's not off much, it's 34.6% compared to 33.3, so
Yep.
that 1.3% is probably what you're referring to.
Yep.
Page 19, any questions? So when you look at the very bottom line, that 37.9, that's the total.
Yeah,
budget, so
and that is something I'm very comfortable with, especially like the retirement assessments, like $3 million, and that's all gets paid at the beginning of the year. So it's,
And just so everyone knows, the reason we go through this is, we had spoken with the DOR several years ago, or well over a year ago, and this is just one of the best practices to do, go through this at least quarterly, to make sure that, the selectmen are aware of where the town finances are, so. Any other comments, Doug, on the budget?
no, just, again, like I said, the lines that have spare money far exceed the money, the lines that are short, so I'm pleased with that.
We'll hope for a good winter.
That's always the hope.
Next item, we have no old business, and after that, we'll get the town administrator's report.
Don asked me to make this very long. So next Monday is Veterans Day, and the Board of Selectmen is invited to join in the festivities. You can take in as much as you'd like. It'll start at 9:45, where we have a ceremony near the monument at the beach. And then eventually we make our way to Dudley, and then there's a march from Dudley to Town Hall here, and another ceremony out here at the Court of Honor. So we will also be closed, the Town Hall, Library, and the Senior Center on Veterans Day. Next meeting on November 18th is a big one. That's why we actually had this meeting to get rid of some of the items, so that would not be like a 5-hour-long meeting. But one of the biggest things will be the tax classification hearing. And last year, we voted a single tax rate, and our hope is to maintain that. We moved to public health and safety. As you're aware, Detective Sergeant Jim Hoover and Officer Jim Young retired last month. And they had a retirement party this past weekend, which I think you all were in attendance. So there was a citation delivered to there on Saturday night.
And as we said, we all, thank them very much for their service, and we'll miss them
Yeah.
dearly from our police department, because, they've a combined 60 years
Yeah.
between the two of them.
And they were both
The
the
harbor
harbor master
yeah,
ones, so.
Big
Fi-
shoes to fill, I mean.
But they've,
it's-
they provided good training, to the ladies and gentlemen below them, so, we'll be good going forward, but, hearty thank you, as we had expressed on Saturday, to both of them.
And to fill in their big shoes, Chris Trainer will be stepping up as a sergeant. And then we also have Francesca Sedendo, who will be finishing the academy this month. I'm gonna skip a few of these, but on Thursday, we have the Communications Center's 5th year anniversary. The board's also welcome to attend that at 11 a.m. at the community room in the police station. There'll be some refreshments. And item G, the fire engine 5 will be delivered this week. So that's exciting news. We moved down to the recreation. We had a lot of October events, lots of trick-or-treating, lots of candy. So thank Carol for her hard work doing all of those.
Thank you,
And
Carol.
we have a few upcoming events. So the Veterans Day that I mentioned, the Holiday Bazaar is December 7th. We are still looking for vendors if anyone's interested. The tree lighting will be December 7th as well at 6 p.m. And our Winter Wonderland is the next Saturday from 5 to 8. On page 2, we have, under Finances A, we bid out our health insurance for the retirees, and so that came back with an annual savings of $50,000. We'll only see $25,000 this year because it's a January 1st start date, but going forward, that's a significant savings. That's on top of the almost $350,000 that we saved by moving the active employees to Harvard Pilgrim. The finance team will be meeting with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board at the state on November 20th. So we are looking to refund our current bonds at a lower rate, and that'll save $250,000 over the remaining life of those bonds. Skipping down surplus properties, the Water and Sewer Commission is looking at property that the water tower is on Park Street. It's a very big lot, and there is really no need to keep that much property, so we're looking at options to carve off a portion of that and potentially sell it at a future town meeting.
So that would be the land from somewhere from the tower down towards Thompson Road.
Yeah.
Also, we had interest in someone that lives near the highway yard where they do the composting, and they have their storage facility. We own like a dozen acres there, and someone's interested in purchasing like 3 acres off of that we don't use at all. If they continue to show interest and pursue it, I think it's a win-win for us and the neighbor.
What's the location of that?
It's off of Evergreen.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, so it's off of Minebrook Road.
Yes.
Doug, is there, you don't mention anything, not that we asked you about the bond rating, any inquiries at all, possibility of an upgrade, or?
So we, the next time we're evaluated is when we'll be borrowing money. So if we meet with the Finance Oversight Board, we actually we'll be using the state's bond rating, which is a AAA, so it's, so actually we won't be looking for an upgrade for at least a year.
But because we're using the state, so we get the
Yeah.
better rate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Economic development, we solicited proposals for a developer, for a contractor to come and help us with the market analysis and to attract developers to town. We received a grant in the past to pay for that work, so we're excited to move that forward, and the contractor that we've been talking to is interested, and say we have a lot of potential to hopefully invite someone and do something with one of our underutilized properties in town. 41 Main Street, the building that's been sitting there for over a year, there has been issues with the insurance, and we finally figured all those out. And then the contractor was delayed due to some National Grid issues. Made some phone calls, got that cleared away. So they tell us that they're planning on tearing it down in the next week or so, but we've heard that for several months now. So we, in addition to trying to play nice and help them, we've also moved forward with the lawsuit to make sure that it's taken down. D there, we are talking with a doctor's office that is looking at going into 118 Main Street. That's the old pharmacy next to Dunkin' Donuts. If that works out, that would be a good thing for downtown. And Carol's working on a Shop Local for the Holidays program, and she's coordinating that with the Chamber and the Business Alliance. Moving on to 4, the infrastructure, Part B. The Lake Parkway Clay Bar Ave project is moving forward. At our next meeting, the board will have to approve the takings as well as the compensation for those takings. We'll get the information out. Some of them are relatively minor, as we're only taking a temporary easement for the construction, so it's only like $140. But then there's other ones that we are taking a little sliver of the property, so they're a little more expensive.
Permanent, I mean?
Permanent ones, yeah.
Doug, I know you skipped the water filtration plant, but do we have a
Oh.
timeline for that?
So it will be operational this month. By the beginning of the year, we'll have the water from the current station routed to go through the new water filtration
that
plant.
piece of
So by the
equipment-
beginning of the year, it'll be everything final.
And do we have any recourse, given the fact that, because it was supposed to be online
It was
September?
supposed to be July. So certainly we are asking for them to cover any and all costs that we had for the extended period. We're pursuing liquidated damages to the extent possible.
Thank you.
Let's see, E there, we have the green communities. We're doing an LED retrofit to this building and the police station, so that's $15,000 annual savings estimated. So that'll be installed in December. And the salt shed roof is being shingled before it gets too cold. Delivery of services, Part B here. We were originally meeting and scheduled to meet on November 18th to discuss the Conservation Commission's wetland setback policy. Our attorney, though, emailed us this afternoon and said he has a special town meeting that he must attend on November 18th. So if it's okay with the Board of Selectmen, we can have that meeting on December 16th, which is our next scheduled meeting. I don't think that causes an issue, as there's not very many applications coming in this time of year.
The only concern I would have is if that's okay with the other boards.
Yes,
Because I don't wanna put it off again.
Yep, we coordinated that.
Okay. Is that okay with the board?
Item C here, we completed an information technology security audit. And actually, while that was being done, it became even more important in light of what happened in Charlton. On the next,
Just for the public, could you explain what happened in Charlton?
yeah, so in Charlton, they received some ransomware, and they, I believe it was a group out of Russia, locked all their information and was asking for, I believe it was like $150,000 in ransom to get all their information back. So that would be a very serious problem to happen anywhere.
So Charlton, I assume, has had to go back to their backups and
They have.
reload their systems.
Yep. So on the next page, we can go through it now, but these are some of the things that Greg has done to address those issues and some of the items that have come up through the IT security audit. So the top section there, well, the second section is the backup solution. So previously, they were backed up, but now they're gonna be backed up to the cloud nightly. So if we were to ever receive a ransom, we'd be able to go back less than 12 hours to get our most recent data. So that would eliminate a situation that happened to Charlton. Greg has.
Of course, it's preventing it, which is the key.
Yes. And,
Is that gonna be backed up nightly, or?
yes.
Is that,
To the cloud.
And we met with those servers that are offsite. We have one at the police station as well, so those will all also be backed up. Greg has upgraded the servers, and he's also upgrading a lot of our computers to the newer Windows 10 migration. He's about 30% done. We'll have the rest done by January. We're also working with Munis to upgrade our utility billing system, and that really won't make much of a difference to customers, but it'll make it much smoother on the backside. And he was able to renegotiate with Charter to save about $650 a month off of our utility bills.
But the overriding security programs, were they talked about at all? You know, as far as the preventing and detecting
Yeah.
viruses?
Yep.
coming in?
And it might be best to have Greg come in and speak directly to those, because I'm not very.
Well, maybe we can get the report and.
Yeah, and, but there was like 40 findings. most of them were relatively minor, and Greg has gone through and fixed the vast majority of them already.
But just a question on Munis, does it sit locally or outside?
Munis is outside, so, again, even if we didn't have the nightly backups, most of our financial and payroll information is in Munis, and that's held off-site, so that wouldn't have been a concern anyway.
Have we, in lieu of this, have we reached out to Munis and?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do we know did we learn anything yet from Charlton that could help us understand
Yeah,
where we
from-
might be vulnerable?
Yeah, Greg and actually the police chief attended a conference at Nichols College that the state put on regarding internet security for municipalities. Greg, he said a lot of the findings went well with the security audit that was just completed, and he feels comfortable that at the current point we're not at risk, but there's always improvements we can be making to make sure we're secure.
Doug, will this go back to, because I think this emanated from the audit committee, will
Yes.
the reports then go back to the audit committee and then talked
Yes.
about at audit committee?
Yeah, so
And then maybe
we'll
that
give
comes
it,
back to,
yeah, we'll give it first to the auditor and then make its way down to the audit committee.
and then it can come back to the selectmen. Well, I know I want to express thanks to Greg, because he does a bang-up job, with what we have.
Yeah.
He's a jack of all trades, and there's a lot going on, and
He is pretty amazing for one person.
he's not here, so we can
Yeah.
brag about him.
It won't go to his head.
So we are closing the compost facility, not this Friday, but the next. Especially with the weather, we do have to clean all that up and have it ground and hauled away before the end of the season. DEP has given us a warning in the past, and we're not in a position to test their patience. Next, like I said, next meeting, we will be meeting to discuss 124 High Street. It's been a nuisance property for a long time. They've had a demolition order that has not been acted upon. Speaking with council, they are recommending that the board have a nuisance property hearing, declare it a nuisance in order to be demolished. So at that point, we would take the money we have available in the nuisance property fund. We also have a nuisance property revolving fund that has money from a previous tear down lien that was repaid, and we'll tear that one down. And if that property's ever sold or changed hands, we'll receive the money back.
So that money goes back when
Right.
you
Yeah,
get
so it'll go back to the revolving, nuisance property revolving fund.
Yeah,
So this year we put $34,000 in it. This is the first time we've ever put money, that type of money into it.
yeah.
And the hope is, the
Seed.
properties will change hands and
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
receive the money.
So basically, when that gets sold, we have to be paid because there's a lien on it.
Yes. And item number 6, transparent government. The selectmen office hours, I just wanted to confirm, Lisa was actually on schedule to be this month, so we'll follow up with her separately.
Right, and that's November 25th.
Is that a Monday?
Yeah, it's the Monday.
Oh.
It's the Monday of
My bad.
Thanksgiving. And if she can't, then I just checked my calendar. I can if she can't,
Okay.
unless someone else wants to.
Well, I
know
did
you've
I
done
did
one.
last month, and I just wanted to mention that there was nobody that came in, but, I think it's good to put it on the homepage, and I'm hoping that it will spur some interest once it gets
Better
known.
known that
And
you're
it'd be
available.
nice to put it on the calendar too, the meeting calendar.
We can post it won't be an official agenda, but we can post something on there that will make it appear.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And, I guess I was perhaps a little confused. We wanted to do that on a night separate from our Board of Selectmen meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
And that Monday, the 25th, there's no meeting.
Yeah.
So.
We do, listed here, have some committee openings. We, over the past few months, have been working to clean up all of our committees and make sure that we have an active and accurate database of the committee members, and as we go through them, was not very accurate before. So hopefully in the next month we'll have a finalized version of that. We will at that point have to make some appointments for different terms, because what happened was we appoint people, but we never set a term date for it. So we'll have to do that and make sure that they're on a rotating basis.
So we will get a list of all committee members with their term and expiration date.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the December meeting.
Yep. So that's what I have on the report. Any questions?
I just want to ask two things. One, several weeks ago, the speed limit signs on East Main and Main Street were changed from 20 to 30 miles an hour. And if you could just bring us up to date with that, I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, we'll take that under public health and safety.
Yeah, so we did reach out to Mass DOT to, it's state law that it's 30 miles per hour unless we get it approved to be otherwise. So technically, downtown Main Street is 30 miles per hour, which it would be excessive if you're, with the amount of traffic we have and encouraging pedestrian traffic. So we have reached out to them to ask them to lower it, specifically downtown. In the meantime, we'll take down the 30 mile per hour speed limit signs, and we'll have the police enforce any speeding through the area.
Doug,
But-
is that something that we can, Board of Selectmen, through our safety committee, get a recommendation, and then the Board of Selectmen can set a local speed limit? Can we ask that?
That would be helpful if the Board of Selectmen approved it and we took it to Mass DOT to have that approved. We have tried to just, tell them that we want it to be 20 and we'll see where that goes. But if we have the Board of Selectmen have a formal vote to do that, it'll have more.
Yeah,
weight.
Earl, if you'd like, we can add that onto our agenda. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
yeah, I think-
agree with you. I think it's dangerous.
And just of note, I know Southbridge is a good compromise. They have a 25 from the circle past Notre Dame. It's 25
Yeah,
on
and
State
even-
Road, so.
Yeah, 20.
20,
and
25.
If we're gonna do
but-
it,
Yeah, might as well
20.
keep it at 20, I think.
Yeah.
With all the crosswalks and everything, it's, and I think we know that, how the traffic can,
Well, if you say it's 30,
Traverse
people will go 40.
Main
That's the
Street.
problem.
yeah. Yeah.
We will have Kenny on the next agenda for the safety committee recommendation, so he will be here on the 8th.
Okay.
Okay. And the other, I'm trying to, I know one time we talked about the selectmen policies, getting them organized and online, and I happened to look the other day, selectmen policies brings you to the Webster Dudley Business Alliance.
Oh, well, we
Bad
can
link.
fix that link.
Yeah.
But I had asked a senior work-off person to codify the existing policies that we have. That hasn't been completed yet.
Oh, okay.
So one will fix that link and go to the PDF that we currently have,
No, okay.
but we can also follow up and make sure that that happens.
And I think, to Earl's point, and in addition to that follow-up, I think that we had tried to come up with a policy where we would review a third of them every year, so roll them out so that we don't forget to take a look. So Doug, if you can also tackle that along
Yeah.
with it.
Andrew, didn't we have a book put together with
We
all
do.
our policies
Yeah,
or something?
at one point, there was a book
There was a
put
book.
together.
It wasn't organized in any
Yeah, it was
logical.
It was a list of 40 policies,
Yeah.
so.
No, we received a.
It's a binder, we have a
Yeah,
binder.
it's a
binder.
frame binder.
But
I
it
have the
was
binder.
organized in that binder.
It had the 40 policies. I don't know, because Jen took over during,
Yeah.
when you guys
Yeah,
reviewed
'cause
them
then-
all, so.
Because then some of those policies as we were reviewing them, were moved to other committees as they were. A lot of the policies that dealt with personnel and
Right.
human resources went to the Personnel Advisory Committee.
Yeah, right, so, when we're done, it will look like, they'll have a bunch of policies that don't necessarily fit under the finance policies or the personnel policies that the board can
Right, but,
review.
you know, I think maybe what we're talking about too is just coordinating them, you know, there's administration, there might be finance. and-
exactly.
And having breaks in there.
Yeah, yeah, some logical.
Sure.
some-
Yeah, and some of them were just kind of bizarre that we may
Yeah.
not even want to have.
Right.
But I think to get back on that, because we haven't touched that in I
It
think
has been
over
a
a year.
while, yeah.
So. Anything else, Doug, for us?
No,
I would just like to end by saying thank you to Chief Shaw and everyone that was involved in the celebration on Saturday.
Good turnout,
And it was
too,
for Detective Sergeant
to
Hoover
recognize them, yeah.
Right. And Officer Young Senior, so. Any other business to come before us? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I'll make a motion to accept the town administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Any questions on that? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's a unanimous vote. Thanks, Andrew. And we'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.